Good morning, children. I welcome you all to the class of Chemistry 11th Standard. I hope you all like chemistry. Chemistry is really enjoyable. Chemistry has made our life very easy in all our walks of life. Let us see some specific examples. If you look into mercury, it always exists as liquid at room temperature. We see many things around us, many chemical substances which exist in the form of solids, liquids, or gases. Iron conducts electricity, but rubber does not. Recently, IISc Bangalore research team reported that nanostructure of silver gold composite has reported to exhibit room temperature superconductivity. But actually speaking, gold, silver, none of them are superconductors. Certain materials like gold and silver are malleable and ductile. But all the substances, we cannot say that they are all malleable and ductile. To dramatize the role of chemistry, let us consider gold, mercury, and platinum. We know that platinum is used in space transportation, gold is used in making jewels, mercury exists as a liquid at room temperature. When we look into the atomic number of all these substances, they are all very close to each other in the periodic table. Platinum with an atomic number of 78, gold atomic number 79, and mercury atomic number 80. They all differ by 1 in their atomic number, but we see that there are larger differences in their behavior. Is there anything common to explain this behavior? Once the physicist Feynman was asked what shortest message to explain about space, science and technology you will give for the living creatures of other planet. The message given by Feynman was everything is made of atom. So we know that everything is made of atom, and in earlier days, atom was considered to be the basic fundamental unit of any substance. When atoms are grouped together, we get something called molecule. So our philosophy of study as of now is reductionism. If you want to understand the building, we have to understand the structure of bricks. So we are going to consider matter to the level of atoms and molecules. So before going deep into this chapter, I want to pose some questions before you. When we keep water in a kettle over the flame, it evaporates and it starts boiling. Iron particle, when exposed to the atmosphere, becomes rusty. At times, when we take a cup of coffee, we feel fresh and relaxed. Iron walls, 2 or 3 days of whitewashing will become bright. So when we explain the reason for all these things, water when heated, the temperature of water increases and it changes into vapor. Iron particle when exposed to the atmosphere is converted to hydrated ferric oxide, which is the basic reason for rusting of iron. When we drink a cup of coffee, it stimulates the release of neurotransmitter called dopamine, which makes us feel fresh. So we see that there is something basic in all these things which are governed by a basic principle of chemistry. So what is chemistry? Chemistry is the subject which deals with the structure, composition, change of state, chemical reaction, etc. In this first chapter, you will learn about some basic principle of chemistry. Yes, the topic is some basic principle of chemistry. As an introductory class, I want to revise certain concepts which you have learned in your lower classes. The basic thing of all substances is matter. So can you define matter? What is matter? Matter is something which has mass and occupies space. So how the matter is classified? Matter is classified into 2 types: physical classification and chemical classification. Under physical classification, matter is divided into 3 states called solids, liquids, and gases. Based on their structure, they are divided into 3 states called solids, liquids, and gases. So let us now see what are the properties and how they make the differences. In the solid state, the particles are held very close to each other and they are packed in an orderly fashion, and the particle oscillate in their mean position, and there is no freedom of movement. As a result, the solids has the property of having definite shape and volume. In the liquid state, the particles are close to each other, but they can move around. But what about the gaseous state? What you can tell about the gaseous state? In the gaseous state, the particles are far apart as compared to solids and liquid state, and their movement is easy and fast. It is due to such an arrangement of particles, different state of matter exhibit the following characters. Solids have definite volume and definite shape. Liquids have definite volume but not definite shape. Gases have neither definite volume nor definite shape. Now, under chemical classification, the substances are classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous substances. So what is the meaning of homogeneous substance? A material is said to be homogeneous if it has uniform composition and identical properties, and it consists of only one phase. On the other hand, a heterogeneous material has got non-uniform composition. They may have different phases and are separated from each other by distinct boundaries. So once again, I will give you some example to explain the aspect of homogeneous and heterogeneous substances. If you take a mixture of iron and sulfur, we mix it in any composition and you can see the particles of iron and sulfur separately. If the same substance, iron and sulfur, are taken in a specific composition and if it is heated, you will get a compound called iron sulfide, which is uniform. So that is homogeneous, whereas the mixture of iron and sulfur is heterogeneous. So now let us have a detailed description of the classification of matter. Matter is classified into 2 states, physical classification and chemical classification. Under physical classification, we have got solids, liquids, and gases. Under chemical classification, we see homogeneous and heterogeneous classification. Again, the homogeneous classification, we divide them into pure substance and mixtures. So, what are pure substances? Elements and compounds come under the category of pure substances because elements are homogeneous and compounds are also homogeneous. They are made up of different substances mixed in a fixed ratio and they are uniform. Coming under the category of mixtures, a mixture can be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. What is a homogeneous mixture? For example, if you take a solution of salt in water, we cannot see the different phases and it seems to be uniform even though it is a mixture. And as I said, the earlier example of a mixture of iron and sulfur can be taken as an example of heterogeneous mixture. Again, the homogeneous. So to repeat, salt in water, it is homogeneous and iron and sulfur mixture is a heterogeneous mixture. Again, if you are going to divide the compounds, the compound may be either inorganic compound or organic compound. All compounds are homogeneous, all elements are homogeneous, whereas mixtures may be either homogeneous or heterogeneous. Now we'll come into the next aspect. What is the difference between mixtures and compounds? How will you differentiate between a mixture and a compound? We know that the constant of a mixture may be present in any ratio, but the constant of a compound are always present in a fixed ratio. That is the first difference. Constants are present in any ratio, whereas in a compound, the constants are present in a fixed ratio. Mixture may or may not be homogeneous in nature, but a compound is always homogeneous in nature. The properties of the mixture are midway between those of its constituent, whereas the properties of a compound is entirely different from its composition. For example, again, if we take the mixture of iron and sulfur, if you bring a magnet over this iron, we see that iron clings to the magnet. Again, if you add carbon disulfide solution to the mixture of iron and sulfur, sulfur will dissolve and you will get a solution of carbon disulfide. And by the process of filtering, you can separate iron. And when you heat carbon disulfide will evaporate, leaving behind sulfur. But the constituents of a mixture can be easily separated, whereas the constituent of a compound cannot be separated easily. Mixtures are formed as a result of physical change, and compounds are formed as a result of chemical change. When a mixture is formed, no heat, light, or electrical energy is absorbed or evolved. That is, for example, if you mix iron and sulfur, no chemical change will take place. Formation of a compound is always accompanied by absorption of or evolution of heat, light, or electricity. If you dissolve sodium hydroxide in water, you touch the sides of the beaker, you will feel the warmth. So it is followed by the evolution of heat energy. So next aspect, what we are going to see, we have seen about mixtures and compounds, but the basic thing of these mixtures and compounds are atoms and molecules. So what is an atom? An atom is the smallest particle of an element that take part in a chemical reaction. Atom may or may not exist freely, but what is a molecule? Molecule is made up of two or more substances. So a molecule, when we say, it may be the molecule of an element or it may be the molecule of a compound. Let us see two atoms of oxygen combined together to form oxygen molecule. And if you take the example of water, water consists of a molecule, two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen. So a molecule consists of two or more atoms combined together. Now, the next aspect, what we are going to observe is about the properties of element and their measurement. That is, let us see about the system of measurement. Measurement, especially in chemistry, it is to be precise and accurate. The International System of Unit, SI system, is the universally accepted system of measurement. The Central International Conference on Weights and Measures in the year of 1960 has decided to adopt coherent systems of unit known as International System of Unit or SI unit. Only if the measurement is uniform, any experiment conducted by a scientist of one country can be adopted by the other scientists in some other country. So system of measurement should be uniform. So we have got in chemistry 7 basic quantities of measurement. So we'll see what are these 7 basic quantities of measurement and their units. Length, and the unit of length is meter. That is the SI unit of length. And next is mass, which is expressed in the unit of kilogram. Next, time, which is expressed in the unit of seconds. Electric current measured in the unit of ampere, and the unit of temperature is Kelvin. Amount of a substance, which is measured in terms of moles. Amount of a substance and amount of a substance measured in the unit of mole. And luminous intensity, which is measured in the unit of candela. So amount of a substance, the unit is mole, and luminous intensity measured in the unit of candela. And let us see the derived quantities. What is the meaning of derived quantity? The quantities that are derived from the fundamental quantity is called derived quantity, and their units are called derived units. Let us see some examples of derived quantities and how the units are measured. For example, let us derive the SI unit of pressure and work. Let us derive the unit for pressure and work. Pressure is given as F by A. And unit of force is Newton. And unit of area is meter square. So pressure is equal to F by A. That is Newton per meter square. Pressure is expressed in the unit of Newton per meter square. So I hope you all would understand how to derive the expression for pressure. So next we'll come to the SI unit of work. How we are going to derive the SI unit of work. Work is equal to force into displacement. You all know that work is equal to force into displacement. What is the SI unit of force? SI unit of force is Newton, and the SI unit of displacement is meter. So SI unit of work is Newton meter. What is the SI unit of work? Newton meter. And 1 Newton meter is equal to 1 joule. So SI unit of work is joule. 1 Newton meter, that is equal to 1 joule. So SI unit of work is Newton meter. Now let us do one problem related to the SI unit. I will explain the problem for you. If you want, you can take down. If mass of air at sea level is 1034 gram per centimeter square, mass of air at sea level is 1034 gram per centimeter square. Calculate the pressure in Pascal. The problem is mass of air at sea level is 1034 gram per centimeter square. Calculate the pressure in Pascal. So what we can write? Pressure is equal to force by area. The formula for pressure is force per unit area. But what is force? Force is equal to M into G. Mass into acceleration due to gravity. F is equal to M into G. So mass is given as 1034 gram per centimeter square. In the problem, the mass is given as 1034 gram per centimeter square. And we can express it in terms of kilogram per meter square. So we can write it as 1034 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram by 10 power minus 4 meter square. 1034 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram by 10 power minus 4 meter square. And the value of G, 9.8 meter per second square. What is the value of G? Acceleration due to gravity, 9.8 meter per second square. So now, when we derive, we will get the value as P is equal to 1034 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram. As there is no space here, I will bring it to the top. You can see P is equal to 1034 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram by 10 power minus 4 meter square into 9.8 meter per second square. So if you simplify, you'll get 1,1332 kilogram meter per second square by meter square. So you will get 1 kilogram meter per second square is equal to 1 Newton. 1 kilogram meter per second square can be written as 1 Newton, and 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 1 Pascal. 1 Newton per meter square is equal to 1 Pascal. So we will write it as pressure is equal to 1,01,332 Newton per meter square. You can write 1,01,332 Newton per meter square. That is equal to 1,01,332 Pascal. 1,01,332 Pascal, which can be written as 1.01332 into 10 power 5 Pascal. It can be written as 1.01332 into 10 power 5 Pascal. So hope you all would have understood this problem. So next we'll go for the measurement of volume. Next aspect, what we are going to see is the measurement of volume. Well, how will you define volume? Volume is the quantity of three-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. Volume is the quantity of three-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. The unit of volume is cubic meter. For convenient measurement, for measuring smaller volumes, which is very important in chemistry, we use the following measuring apparatus. So what are the measuring apparatus we use in the laboratory is, we can see measuring jar, burette, pipette, and standard flask, which is used for preparing smaller volumes of liquids. And the next aspect is about density. What is density? Density is defined as mass per unit volume. What is density? Mass per unit volume. So what is the unit for density? Mass is expressed in terms of kilogram and volume is expressed in terms of cubic meter. So the unit of density is kilogram per meter cube. Unit of density is kilogram per meter cube. And the most important thing what we use in the chemistry lab, the most important measurement are mass and weight. So let us define mass. What is mass? Mass is defined as the amount of matter present in a substance. Amount of matter present in a substance, and it is universal. Weight is the force exerted on the object by Earth's gravity. So since Earth's gravity comes into definition, definitely weight is not universal. Weight of an object will change near the equator or near the poles or when we go up and down. So mass is the amount of matter contained in a body, and weight is defined as the force exerted on the object by Earth's gravity. Force exerted on the object by Earth's gravity. So, as I have told you, the weight of an object will change near equator, near the poles, or when we go up and down in an elevator. So, to conclude, we say mass is the amount of matter contained in a body. Weight is the force exerted on the object by Earth's gravity. And mass is constant, whereas weight varies. And unit of mass is kilogram, whereas the unit of weight is Newton or kilogram weight. So I hope you all would have understood these things. So next class, we will read about measurement of temperature and also scientific units. Thank you, children.